When Lily Chen told her boss she was dating billionaire Adrian Blackwood, she expected the lie to last exactly 7 days. That was how long she needed to keep her job at Sterling Fashion House, win the annual design competition, and secure the prize money for her mother's experimental heart surgery. What she didn't expect was for the actual Adrian Blackwood to show up at her Brooklyn apartment 3 days later, holding the Elite Companion's rental contract she'd printed at the library, and say, "You forgot to specify overtime pay for emotional labor." The morning had started like every other in Manhattan's garment district: overpriced coffee, a subway ride that smelled of desperation and burnt bagels, and Marcus Sterling's voice cutting through the design studio like a bandsaw. "Maya, my office." Now, Marcus ran Sterling Fashion House with the subtlety of a wrecking ball. He'd inherited the company from his father, but none of the elder Sterling's creative vision, compensating with ruthless efficiency and a nose for weakness. When Maya entered his glass-walled office, he didn't look up from his monitor, where spreadsheets glowed like a digital monument to his soullessness. "Your quarterly review," he said, clicking through tabs. "Numbers are down. Last collection flatlined. I'm not seeing a reason to renew your contract." Maya's throat tightened. "The spring line was my strongest work. The critics called it promising." "The critics don't pay your salary." Marcus finally looked at her, his eyes flat and assessing. "Blackwood Group is considering an investment. Land them, and I can justify keeping you. Don't, and you're up by Friday." 2 days. He was giving her 2 days. "I know someone there," Maya blurted, the lie tasting like copper. "Adrian Blackwood. We're together." Marcus's eyebrows lifted a fraction. "The Adrian Blackwood? The man who hasn't been photographed since his mother's funeral 5 years ago? That Adrian Blackwood?" "We're private," Maya said, her voice gaining strength from pure panic. "Very private. Prove it." Marcus leaned back, steepling his fingers. "Get him here tomorrow. Sign the investment papers. Otherwise, pack your desk." Maya spent the night scrolling through Elite Companions, her best friend Zoe peering over her shoulder, eating cold dumplings straight from the takeout container. "You're insane. You can't hire someone to play a billionaire." "I can if no one's ever seen him." Maya clicked on a profile: Kai, corporate roleplay specialist. The photo showed only a tailored Tom Ford suit and a jawline that could cut glass. Perfect. He's got the look. When Kai arrived at her cramped apartment the next morning, he filled the doorway like he owned the building. He was taller than she'd expected, with dark hair swept back and eyes that seemed to see through every defense she'd built since her father died. He took the coffee she offered, his fingers brushing hers with deliberate care. "So I'm Adrian Blackwood," he said, his voice a low rumble that belonged in boardrooms and bedrooms. "And you're my girlfriend of..." He checked his phone. 6 months. "We met at a charity auction for pediatric cancer. You were charmed by my portfolio diversification." Maya stared. "How did you?" "I read the brief." He smiled, and something in it made her stomach flip. "You wrote quite a detailed backstory. I especially liked the part where I quote Rilke in bed." Her face burned. "I may have gotten carried away. A good performance requires depth." Kai set down his cup. "Shall we discuss my fee?" $500, Maya said quickly. "For the day." He laughed, not a dismissive sound, but genuine amusement. "For playing a billionaire? That's criminal underpayment. It's all I have." Kai studied her for a long moment, his expression shifting into something she couldn't read. "Fine. But I require full creative control over my character." Adrian Blackwood wouldn't be caught dead in anything off the rack. He arrived at Sterling's Manhattan headquarters the next day in a suit that probably cost more than Maya's car, flanked by an assistant named Ethan who addressed him as Mr. Blackwood, with such natural deference that Maya nearly believed it herself. Marcus fell over himself offering espresso and compliments, while Adrian, listened with the bored patience of someone accustomed to being wooed. "The fall collection needs capital," Marcus said, spreading lookbooks across the conference table. "Your investment would secure our place in the luxury market." Adrian picked up a sketch of Maya's design, a flowing silk gown with origami-inspired pleats. "This is interesting. Who designed it?" That would be Maya, Marcus said, his tone implying she was an afterthought. One of our junior designers. Adrian's eyes met hers across the table, and the look in them made her breath catch. She has talent. I like investing in talent. The meeting ended with a handshake that felt too firm, too real. Marcus was practically glowing. Excellent. We'll draw up the papers for the gala next week. You will be there, won't you? Wouldn't miss it. Adrian stood, offering Maya his arm. Shall we, darling? In the elevator, the moment the doors closed, the performance dropped. Your boss is a shark, he said, the barest hint of warmth returning to his voice. You need to get out of there. I need the health insurance, Maya admitted, the truth spilling out. My mother. I know. He cut her off gently. Ethan looked into you. Heart condition, needs surgery, insurance won't cover it. That's why you're desperate enough to hire a stranger to play your boyfriend. Maya's stomach dropped. You investigated me? I investigate everyone who hires me. The elevator opened to the lobby. It's how I stay in business. But in your case, I found something unexpected. He pulled out his phone, showing her a photo, 2 children, maybe 7 years old, sitting on a park bench. The boy was crying. The girl had her arm around him, fierce and protective. The girl was Maya. That was 20 years ago, he said quietly. My mother had just died. I was hiding in Central Park, planning to run away. You found me. You told me that being brave meant being scared and doing it anyway. You gave me your lunch and a seashell necklace. You said if I ever became someone important, I should come find you. Maya's hand flew to her throat, to the necklace she still wore every day, a small cowrie shell on a silver chain. You kept that. I built an empire to become someone worthy of it. Alexander, Kai, whoever he was, stepped closer. I just didn't expect you to hire me first. The world tilted sideways. You're not an actor. Not even a little. He smiled, and this time it was real, unguarded. But I'll keep playing the role if it helps you. Consider it back pay for saving my life. The next week became a dangerous dance. Alexander insisted on keeping up the charade, showing up at Sterling every day to sign documents, review designs, and make Marcus believe the investment was imminent. He brought Maya coffee exactly how she liked it, remembered her mother's favorite flowers, and charmed the entire design team so thoroughly that even Maya started to forget it was an act. But Victoria Ashford hadn't forgotten. She appeared on Friday afternoon like a storm in stilettos, her blonde hair a perfect sheet, her smile sharp enough to draw blood. Alexander, darling, she purred, air-kissing near his cheek. Mother said you were in town. We have the engagement party to plan, after all. Maya's world froze. Engagement. A misunderstanding, Alexander said smoothly, but his jaw tightened. Victoria and I had a business arrangement. It ended months ago. Ended. Victoria's laugh was brittle. We announced it to the board. You can't just, she stopped, her eyes narrowing on Maya. Oh, I see. This is why you've been hiding. Victoria, Alexander warned. But she was already turning to Maya, her voice syrupy sweet. You must be the designer everyone's talking about. The one who thinks she's clever enough to steal my fiancé. She leaned in close, her perfume overwhelming. Let me give you some advice. Alexander Blackwood doesn't do real. He does useful. And when you're no longer useful, you'll be gone. That night, Maya tried to end it. You have a fiancé. A real life. I can't keep lying. Victoria is a business contract my mother arranged, Alexander said, his voice tired. She's also a plagiarist. She's been stealing designs from a Facebook account you abandoned in college. I've had my team investigating her for months. Maya stared. What? Your old account, Lily Chen Designs. You posted sketches there in 2018. Victoria's breakout collection in 2019 was your work, almost line for line. He pulled out a tablet, showing her side-by-side comparisons. I was building a case against her when you hired me. Now I have the perfect opportunity to expose her publicly. The charity gala arrived like a storm front. Maya wore a gown Alexander had sent, emerald silk that matched her necklace, the one he'd given her 20 years ago. Marcus had invited press, shareholders, and half of Manhattan's elite. Victoria arrived on Alexander's mother's arm, smug and glittering in diamonds. Eleanor Blackwood was everything Maya feared, impeccable, cold, assessing her with eyes that missed nothing. "You're the girl my son's been hiding," she said, her voice clipped. "How much?" "Excuse me." "To leave." "How much will it take?" She pulled out a checkbook. 50 million? That should cover your mother's bills and give you a comfortable life far away from my son. Maya's hands shook with rage. "I'm not for sale. Everyone has a price." Eleanor's smile was arctic. "Victoria has breeding, connections, and talent. You have, what? A desperate story and a borrowed dress?" Before Maya could respond, Marcus took the stage, tapping the microphone. "Before we begin the auction, I'd like to address a rumor. Miss Chen claims to be dating Alexander Blackwood, yet I've discovered she hired an actor from a rental website. A fraud, ladies and gentlemen." The crowd gasped. Victoria's smile spread like a crack in glass. Alexander stepped forward, his expression thunderous, but Maya stopped him. This was her fight. She walked to the stage, took the microphone, and spoke with a steadiness she didn't feel. "You're right. I hired someone. I hired Alexander Blackwood." Marcus laughed. "That's absurd. He's standing right." "Not him," Maya interrupted. "The real Alexander Blackwood. The boy I met 20 years ago in Central Park. The boy I gave this to." She held up the seashell necklace. "He promised he'd come back. He did. And I've been pretending I didn't recognize him because I was scared." She turned to Alexander then, her eyes finding his in the crowd. "You asked me earlier why I was doing this. Why I let you hire me. Why I played along." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. 20 years ago, a girl gave a scared little boy her courage and a seashell necklace. I promised her I'd come back as someone worthy of her. I just didn't expect she'd beat me to the punch by hiring me first." He opened the box. Inside was a ring, but also a small, perfect seashell on a silver chain, the twin of the one she'd given away half a lifetime ago. "Mom," he said, looking past her to where his mother sat frozen, "you wanted to know why I wouldn't marry Victoria? Because she's been plagiarizing Maya's designs for years, stealing from a Facebook account Maya abandoned in college. I have the forensic evidence. The engagement was a business arrangement she manipulated. This," he gestured to Maya, "to the ring, to the room full of witnesses, this is real." Victoria's face crumpled as Marcus's investigator pushed through the crowd, not with evidence against Maya, but with files showing Victoria's systematic theft, her bribes to competition judges, her plan to use the Blackwood name to legitimize stolen work. The gala dissolved into chaos, security escorting Victoria out as she screamed about lawsuits and defamation. Alexander's mother stood, her expression unreadable, then walked to Maya, her eyes softening. "I offered you $50 million to leave," she said quietly. "You refused. That told me everything." She turned to her son. "You have excellent taste. Don't mess this up." Later, in the quiet of Alexander's penthouse, Maya finally let herself shake. He wrapped his arms around her, the seashell necklace cold between them. "Your mother," she whispered. "The surgery. It was you, wasn't it? The charity that paid for everything." "I had to," he said into her hair. "I couldn't let you suffer, not when I'd finally found you again." She pulled back, searching his face. "All those times you pretended to be Kai, when you signed those checks, when you faced down Marcus." "I was being myself," he interrupted. "The man you made me. The boy who learned courage from a girl with pigtails and a kind heart." The competition officials called the next morning. With Victoria disqualified and evidence of her sabotage, Maya's designs, the ones she'd poured her soul into while Alexander watched from the shadows, won first place. The prize money covered her mother's continued care, but Alexander had already established a trust that would keep her comfortable for life. "I don't want you to feel indebted," he said when she tried to thank him. "I don't," she replied, her voice steady. "I feel loved. There's a difference." They married on the ranch where it all began, in a small ceremony where Zoe served as maid of honor and Ethan gave the bride away. Alexander's mother cried quietly in the front row, clutching the seashell necklace Maya had given her as a gift, a new one, symbolizing a new start. As they danced under string lights, Maya whispered, "What if I'd never hired you?" Alexander smiled, that same secret smile from the day they'd met. "Then I would have found another way." Some stories are meant to be rewritten until they end exactly where they began, with two people who saved each other. The paparazzi got their photos, but they only captured the surface. The real story, the rental website, the lie that became truth, the boy who became a billionaire to be worthy of a girl who never needed him to be anything but kind, remained theirs alone, a secret more valuable than any empire. In the end, Maya didn't need a fake boyfriend to save her job. She needed a real man to remind her that she was already worth saving. And Adrian didn't need an empire to feel important. He needed the girl who'd given him a seashell and taught him that bravery and love were the same thing, scary, necessary, and the only thing worth building a life around.